the kettlebell swing. Kettlebell swing is one of my favorite exercises. It's one of the best full body exercises that you can do. And so I just want to go over the basics for this movement today, make sure that when you do the kettlebell swing, you're doing it safely and effectively for your body and for your program. One of the first things I want to talk about is the difference between a hinge and a squat. So a hinge is a hip dominant exercise, whereas a squat is a knee dominant exercise. So you can see the difference between the two. In a hinge, my hips are going back as far as they can, whereas in a squat, a knee dominant exercise, I'm getting a really deep knee bend as well as hips too, but the knees you can see are a lot more bent in a squat than when I'm doing a hinge with a less knee bend here. In a kettlebell swing, it's really a full body exercise, but some of the primary movers are going to be your hips, and then your glutes, hamstrings, and pretty much your entire posterior chain or the back side of the body. You're going to get a lot of core engagement as well, and of course your forearms, since they're going to be the ones holding the kettlebell. So if we look at the big picture, you're really getting a full body exercise. You have a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to a kettlebell swing. So if you're a beginner to the kettlebell swing, you want to make sure that you have the appropriate size kettlebell for your current ability level. So for a female, first starting out, I recommend about a 16 kilogram kettlebell, maybe 20, depending on your experience level. For males, 20, 24, maybe a 28 kilogram. And you want to make sure you have enough weight. If your weight's too light, you're not going to really feel the benefits or feel the engagement that's happening, because you're just going to be able to muscle through the movement. So you want to make sure that you have enough weight. So don't shy away from moderate to heavy weight for the kettlebell swing, especially once you nail down the form. When it comes to the setup position of the kettlebell swing, we talked earlier about the hinge. So you want to make sure you really nail that hinge position. It's critical for success with the kettlebell swing. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find your hip crease. So if you were just going to sit your hips back as far as you can, find where your hips fold in half, and that's your hip crease. So you want to, and you can even take your fingers here and push your hips back. So you're going to feel your hips crushing your fingers. Now you know you're in a proper hip hinge. So if I pause right here, you'll see that I have my head here, my shoulders, my hips, and then my knees. So my knees are below my hips, which are below my shoulders. So you can see the triangle position right here. You want to make sure you nail that down. Some of the biggest mistakes I see are people with their hips too high or too low. So here, my hips are too high. You can see my shoulders and my hips are in a line, and we want to have the hips lower than the shoulders. Another mistake is having the hips too low, and now you can see my knees and my hips are in a line. So this is too low. So somewhere right in the middle, where I have 1, 2, 3, that's the proper setup position for the hinge. When you set up for your kettlebell swing, you want to make sure that the kettlebell is in front of you and not right below you. So you want to take a step back here, find your hip crease and hinge, and then you want the kettlebell to be about an arm's distance in front of you. If I'm out here, it's too far. If I'm right above the kettlebell, it's too close, and I'm not going to have enough room to hike it back, which we're going to go over in a little bit. So hinge here. You're going to reach for the kettlebell, and then you want to tilt the bell towards you so that the kettlebell handle creates an extension of your wrist and your hand. So you don't want to have it flat on the ground. You want it to be slightly tilted back towards you. Again, it's kettlebell, wrist, arms. I have my proper form here, my shoulders above my hips, hips above my knees. And then the last thing I want to think about is turning on my lats. So my lats are these big muscles right here on my back, and they need to be firing the entire time to make sure I create that tension in the upper body. So when I get my setup position here, I want to take my shoulders and pull them back and down away from my ears. And when I do that, you'll see these muscles right here, my lats, they're going to turn on. I'm going to create a little bit of tension on the handle, but not too much. You don't want to death grip it and break it in half. You just want to have enough tension that you can hold on to it securely when you begin to do the swing. Once you've nailed down the setup, we're ready to begin actually moving the kettlebell off the ground. The first thing we're going to do is called the kettlebell hike. And if you ever watch football or play football, you know what the hike movement is from sports, and it's very similar with the kettlebell. You're going to get into your setup position, and the first thing you're going to do is hike the kettlebell back between your legs. A couple things to think about here. So if you look from the front, there's a triangle here. So from the knee to the other knee into the groin. Right here is the triangle, and you want the kettlebell to go into that space that you've created with the triangle. If your kettlebell is down here, that's too low. So you want to make sure that you aim for that space right in here. When you hike the kettlebell from the ground, back between your legs, the chest should not rise when you come off the ground with the kettlebell. So what you don't want to do is this. That's bringing your chest up too soon. So when you take the kettlebell from the ground back between your legs, you want to keep your chest at the same height relative to the ground. You're not going to lift your chest up until the kettlebell is coming back in front of you. So let's talk about the hike now. Getting your setup here, kettlebell is the extension of your arms. You have created some tension in your core and your lats by pulling your shoulders back and down. You're going to hike the bell between your legs and just bring it right back to the floor. So as you can see, I did not do this. That would be bringing my chest up during the hike, which we don't want to do. Keep your chest low, same position relative to the floor, and then bring it right back down. And you can see I'm still maintaining that same starting position with my joints that I had before. After you've got the hike down and you feel really good about it, we're ready to start swinging. With the swing, you're going to start with the hike, and from there you're going to explode forward with your hips, and your arms are going to bring the kettlebell up in front of you. At the top of the swing, the kettlebell should feel completely weightless. There should be a moment of weightlessness where it just feels like the kettlebell floats out in front of you before you bring it back down. Something I want to mention before we actually go and do the swing is at the top of the swing, when you're here, should be like a standing plank. So if you've ever done planks on the ground, like this, you have lots of tension in your midsection, right? And that same concept applies here with the kettlebell swing. When you come up to the top here, we want that standing plank, that same tension drawn in here. So what that does not look like is this. If we lean back like this, we've lost the engagement of our core. We're now using our low back a lot, and that's not pretty. So we want to make sure that we stand up tall. We have our rib cage connected to our pelvis, so we're drawing this in, and then your hands are straight out in front of you. At the very top, we want to really squeeze our glutes hard, so imagine you're trying to crack an acorn between your cheeks, or hold a piece of paper in between them, whatever analogy works for you. But when we get to that top position, this is where we want to be. So if we review everything so far, we're going to fold our hips in half, push our hips back, grab the kettlebell, have it about arm's length in front of you, tilt it towards you, pull your shoulders back and down, have a neutral chin, so we're not looking up here, we're not looking down here, the eyes are just forward on the horizon. We're going to do our hike, and then we're going to stand up with our kettlebell into our swing. A couple things to note about the kettlebell swing that I just performed. So first thing is my arms. So I see a lot of people doing swings like this with the T-Rex arms. We want to try to avoid that unless it's super, super heavy, which we aren't really going there yet, but if it's moderate, light to moderate weight, we want to make sure that our arms are either straight or mostly straight. So a slight bend is okay, but we don't want to be here with the T-Rex arms, which looks like this. We want to extend the elbow straight or mostly straight. Another thing is the eye position. So as I mentioned earlier, you want your eyes to be on the horizon when you're starting, and then as you stand up, your eyes are going to go in front of you. We never want the chin to be on the chest or the neck to be extended too much. One other important thing to mention, which is arguably one of the most important aspects of kettlebell training and training in general, is breathing. So breathing can really, really improve the quality of your movement when implemented correctly. But it's probably not talked about enough when it comes to training, so let's talk about it right now. When it comes to the kettlebell swing, there are two parts to the movement, right? There's the hike and then there's the swing. And when it comes to breathing, there's two parts to the breath. There's the inhale and the exhale. So we can pair those up together so that they work in sync together, and the breathing will really, really help improve the quality of the kettlebell swing. So when we do the hike, the kettlebell hike, when we bring it from the ground back between the legs, we want to inhale and do what's called a power breath. And then when we go from back here to the swing, we're going to forcefully exhale and do the exhalation of the power breath. So power breath is basically breathing through the diaphragm, and when you do that exhale, you're going to make the sound of a T, like t, t. So when we go here, we're going to inhale, and then when we come up here, t. And at the exact moment that your hips come to extension, that's when you want to exhale forcefully through your teeth and make that t sound. So let's work on that here. So we're going to set up our kettlebell start position. We're going to hike. When we hike, we're going to inhale. When we swing, we're going to exhale. So as you can see, the breath has two parts and the movement has two parts, and when we line them up together, the quality of the movement dramatically increases. So it's important to practice the breath. Even before you practice the swing, you're going to practice that breathing pattern because it might be new for some of you. Let's talk about timing on the back end of the swing. So once you get to that top position and you're in your standing plank, your kettlebell's out in front of you, you're going to bring it back down. When you first start doing swings, you're going to just do one at a time, kind of get used to the movement, but once you're doing multiple repetitions of the swing, we want to make sure that our timing is correct. All right? So what that means is after you finish your swing at the top here and you're getting ready to do your next swing, you want to wait as long as you possibly can to get back into that hinge again. So your tendency might be to, as soon as you finish the top of the swing here, to start going into your next hinge, but what that's going to do is lead to an early hinge, and your kettlebell is going to end up down here. What we want to do is have your hips go back again and have the kettlebell come with your hips. So you're going to wait until the last possible second, making sure your shoulders are pulled back here. You're going to drop your arms down, and as soon as your hands get to your hips, you're going to push your hips back and your hands are going to go with it. All right? So here, wait, boom. And those hands with your kettlebell, push your hips as far back as you can, and then you're going to go into that next swing again with that exhale, the breathing, the hips, everything works together. Moment of weightlessness at the top of the swing. Wait, hips. And then you just do as many repetitions as you're going to do in that set. Once you finish that last repetition, the same exact thing happens. It shouldn't look any different just because you're on the last rep of the set. You're going to still come back here, finish that hinge, and then place the kettlebell back down on the ground in the same position that you started in. So with the kettlebell, let's see what that looks like. So you're going to set up here, grab the kettlebell, chin is neutral, eyes are on the horizon, get set. So if you watch that video in slow motion or you pause, you will see that I'm waiting, the kettlebell is coming to my body, then I'm hinging, and then after my last rep, I'm setting it back down on the floor. A good way to tell if you're recording yourself doing the kettlebell swing, you shouldn't be able to tell. If I were to pause the video at any point in the movement, you wouldn't be able to tell if it was the first rep, the last rep, if you're going up, or if you're coming back down from the swing, because every single one of those should look the same. That's a wrap on our kettlebell swing tutorial. So as you can see from everything we just covered, kettlebell swing is an excellent full body exercise. It works almost every muscle group in the body, and depending on how you use it, what weight you're using, how many reps you're doing, sets, etc., the way you program the kettlebell swing into your exercise program, you can really build speed, power, explosiveness, strength, and endurance. It's really an all-in-one exercise, and all you need is one kettlebell to get it done. Happy swinging!